Earth is flat as a flat Asian bitch. Earth is flat as a flat-chested Asian bitch. E flat, E flat. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Earth is as flat as a flat Asian chest. Do 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 do. She's an Asian bitch with a flat chest. Do 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 do. Anyway, speaking of flat-chested Asians, so, I am going to say. Now, let me preface this with a small disclaimer. Excuse me. I do fuck around a lot. I admit that. So when it comes to posting on Facebook, let's say, a bunch of flat Earth stuff, obviously I'm fucking around. But my personal opinion on the situation is that I think Earth is probably a little flatter than a lot of people want to give it credit for. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not saying it's flat Earth, but it is, you know. The reason I say that, and the reason I say it like that, is, yes, it's a cop-out. I'm not saying it's flat, I'm not saying it's round, I'm saying it's somewhere in the middle. Because, whatever. But the reason I do say that, now keep in mind, I fuck around and post stuff like, oh, Earth is flat, and whatever. It's just a dick around. But, like I said, the reason that I say those things, jokingly or otherwise, is simply that, for the most part, the whole... Listen, when it comes to flat Earth, I find the concept fascinating. That's basically where I'm coming from. I find it interesting. I find it interesting in the, okay, what if? Like, what if they are lying to us? What if... Alright, let's put it this way. What if Earth is flat? Let's just say it's flat, like the flat earthers want to believe it is. What if it is? Well, it's not because of this, that, and the other. Okay, fine. But you're telling me that... I have a hard time believing NASA. I just do. I mean, let's just look at the history of NASA. I mean, let's forget Apollo 13. Remember the movie? I saw the movie. Okay. They literally had, what was it, square air filters for round pegged holes. I mean, really? And I'm supposed to believe that in the 60s they somehow got a tin can up into space into the moon and back? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, seriously, think about that just logically. Now, I'm not saying the moon landing was fake, although it probably was. Kubrick and bullshit. Okay, it probably was as fake as fuck. You could easily fake it. I mean, let's put it that way. For the amount of money that they spend, it's more than a Hollywood budget. They could easily fake that shit. Okay? But I'm not going to say they did or they didn't, but I'm just saying they could have. They probably did, actually. I'll even go as far as to say probably. It's infinitely more likely that they did fake it than they actually got to the moon. Because the thing that bothers me most about the whole situation is we literally went from, gee, we can't even get a rocket off the ground, and Russia's beating us. Russia got into the, outer atmosphere kind of a deal, and we can't even get a rocket off the ground. All of a sudden, 10 minutes later, it's like, oh yeah, we're on the moon. I'm sorry, there was a transition there. Now, maybe they were just bullshitting, and but as far as the space race went, you gotta question that. I mean, it's like 9/11 Building 7 falling kind of bullshit, okay? Whatever, but I don't want to get into that. And again, I'm saying it more speculative, not more tinfoil hat. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't set well with me. So, anyway, let's put that to the side. I don't care about all that stuff. I don't care about flat earth, moon, bullshit. I don't care about none of that. What bothers me the most is that we are living in a holographic universe. I can tell you as a fact we are living in a holographic universe. We are. We absolutely are. And the reason I do say that is that I am almost 100% guaranteeing that as a fact is because now there's this one particular guy, he's a flat earther. Although he just became a flat earther. He used to not be a flat earther, and he started doing research and stuff, and it's like he became a flat earther. What he did, him and some guys that he was dealing with, they basically took this big balloon. They went up 100,000 feet, which is basically, early part of space, and they had cameras on the thing. Now, what they were doing, they had two cameras. They had a regular camera, and then they had the fish lens, or fisheye lens camera, which, makes it look curved. And they were, they were trying to suggest that the horizon was very flat, just straight across, and not curvatured. Okay, whatever. Which, by the way, it is when you get up that high, but I'm not getting into that. Now, there was 3 moments in this video. Now, in the video, it's like, they live streamed it for like an hour and a half. I didn't watch the whole thing. I basically skipped the whole preparation thing. I got this little box in the warehouse, and let's put the cameras on it, and this camera, and you got the duct tape, and whatever. And who gives a fuck about all that? So I fast forwarded most of that. I watched where they launched it, and it was just from a conceptual idea. It was a very cool video. Now, the guy is a known flat earther, but he came into it with, okay, and one of the cool things that they said, and I appreciate them saying, is that flat earthers are going to find what they want to find, and round earthers are going to find what they want to find, and you can't change their mind. And I like that they said that, and I like the fact that I actually fast forward and actually found that section within a, almost 2-hour clip. Whatever. So anyways, I watched them launch it. The balloon goes up, 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 blah, blah, blah. The first thing that I noticed that, like, I literally said aloud, like I was sitting there in a chair and I said it aloud. And not even really meaning to, but when I said it, like something clicked and it was like, bloop. I was like, because you got a picture, it's now going up, it's, a few hundred feet, close to 1,000 feet. And you can see, because they're like out in the Midwest somewhere, and it's like just flat prairie land bullshit, farms, and when you get up higher, the first thing I noticed, and I literally said it aloud, was, wow, that's some great draw distance. Now, that's a video game term for, now, I know you know what it means, but for the sake of the clip, I'll explain that. Essentially, as far as the eye can see, now, with video games, there's a lot of pop-in where, like a building will, the closer you get to it, it'll pop in instead of just kind of fade in, because just the technology is shit. So I'm going to say this right now. If we are living in a holographic universe, and I did say that it was almost a guaranteed fact, but let's just say it's not. If it is, then whatever computing power that's being done, it's very powerful. Okay, because the draw distance, when you get up that high, is very good. Now, to be fair, the only reason the draw distance was as bad as it was, and I say that it was bad in the sense that it was really, really good, but there was a limit, and the only reason there was a limit is because of the camera. So, whatever. But like I said, first thing I thought was that is really good draw distance. Like, you could see, like, really, 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 really far away. And yes, the horizon was flat, so on and so forth. You didn't see curvature. Now, granted, it was only a few miles. Okay, fine, I get that. we're not gonna debate curvature and all that bullshit. But it was just very cool to watch it go up. And then, once you got past the clouds, I gotta be honest with you, it started freaking me out, because I've seen the image before. Now what happens is when you get above the clouds, there's literally nothing out there. I mean, it's just nothing. You see the sun, and it does this like elongated oval shape of just light. So you have the blue sky with like this light of like stretched out light. I can't really describe it. You'd have to see the image of it. And it does this like, because you got a picture. You got the horizon line, and then you got this big splotch of just light. And when I saw it, dude, I swear to God, it started to freak me out, because I've seen that exact, I mean, we're talking exact image before. And yes, it's in a video game. It's in basically every 3D video game that I've ever played in the last almost 20 years. When you get out of bounds, like you get out of the play area, out of the map, and you see what the developers created, they do the same exact thing. The sun looks exactly the same as when you get out of bounds. So when the balloon got above the clouds, it was essentially out of bounds, and like I said, it was the exact same fucking image, and it was creepy. It freaked me the fuck out, and it just absolutely freaked me out, because there's nothing out there. I mean, it literally is nothing out there. Okay, there's nothing out there. I mean, you understand that. There's nothing out there. Nothing. Now, I'm not saying nothing like as far as like planets and shit, but I mean, when you get above the clouds, there's nothing out there. Like zero. Nothing. And then the higher it gets, and then the next point that I fast forwarded to was when it hit like its stride at like almost, we're talking within like 50, 60 feet of making like 100,000 feet. Another thing started freaking me out, because I've seen this too in a video game. You literally see stripes. You see, again, you still got the horizon line, but you see light blue, and the stripes get a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, and you start seeing blue stripes, and then it fades into black, and you see actual stripes. You can literally see it fade from each stripe, almost like when you're fucking around on a TV set and you're doing like the settings. Well, they have those bars, like, you know, see the image almost, you know, just make it through the light, the contrast. You can just barely see the image, and they have the bars at the bottom. And I've seen that before, and it's creepy as fuck, dude. I'm sorry. That actually kind of freaked me out. I'm sitting there watching it freaking out, because it was like, there's nothing out there. Nothing. I don't care. And I would almost wager to guess, even space, there's nothing out there. Now, I'm not saying it's like the Truman Show and shit, where it's like, you know, like, oh, the stars are just little dots on a backdrop somewhere. Although that would be freaky as fuck, I'm not gonna lie. Can you imagine that, though? Can you imagine if that was actually the way it was? Holy crap. Like, there is an end to the universe? I mean, think about that. Now, we know, or, well, first off, we don't know shit. That's the problem. We don't know shit. We're told that the universe is expanding. Okay, why is it expanding? Because we're looking for it. It's draw distance. It's like No Man's Sky. The further you go, the more it generates itself. And it's creepy. It literally is creepy, the fact that it does that. So, because what's very fucking... what's... The thing that creeps me out probably the most is that the deeper, more microscopic that you go, you realize there's nothing there. The further out into space you go, the more you realize there's nothing there. There is nothing there. Nothing. There is nothing there. I mean, you understand what I'm saying to you. You go microscopic, it gets to a point where there's like I said, nothing there. Like, if you go to like a particle, they suggest that particles are basically just little bundles of energy that kind of congregate and create a particle. Now, I like to picture particles almost like pixels on a screen where it creates like a bigger image. Like it's more than the sum of its parts kind of a deal. That's exactly what it is. It's like you can go so far down that you realize that the only real tangible thing is where our consciousness is. It literally is Einstein's spooky action shit. Okay? It's like waves and particles. Like it'll shoot off as a particle. We view it, it then becomes a wave. Now, how that works, it's creepy as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. But again, the further we look out into space, the more we find. We're gonna keep finding more and more and more because it literally is being procedurally generated, like No Man's Fuck Sky. And it's I keep saying creepy. There's no other word to go back to because it's fucked up. When you think about just how nothing there is. No. I mean, just the dead void of space. I don't know how... Dude, how the fuck do the astronauts do that shit and not freak the fuck out? I mean, are you telling me that Neil Armstrong and those fuckers actually went to the moon and didn't freak the fuck out? I mean, can you imagine actually being on the moon and like, oh, let's jump around. Let's play golf on the moon. No, dude, you're freaking the fuck out. You are out in the middle of nothing. You are out in the middle of shit. You are in a pile of shit, and you're not sitting there playing golf. Fuck you. And you want to talk about moon landing being fake? Now, I'm sorry. You watch that video where they come back and they do the interview? These motherfuckers come back and act like somebody kicked their dog in the dick, okay? They're not like, oh my god, I was in space, it was so great. These guys come back and they're depressed and they're like, yeah, we went out to space and, yeah, any questions? They were depressed as fuck when they came back. Now, I'm sorry. And I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about that shit. There is no amount of therapy, none, zero, that's going to make you grasp the fact that you're not on the planet anymore. Okay? Just taking a shuttle into the outer atmosphere and you realize there's nothing there. That is enough to make you shit yourself and say, fuck it, I'm going home. Fuck you. Terra firma, motherfucker. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, we went to the moon, we played golf. No, bullshit. Bullshit. I'm sorry. That alone is Kubrick bullshit to me. Okay? Because, how do you go from I was on the moon playing golf to I'm back in Jersey? I mean, are you fucking kidding me with that shit? Like I said, there's nothing there. Now, I'm saying that not in the actual sense, but more in the... No, actually, let me rephrase that. I'm saying in the actual sense, not so much in the literal sense. Obviously, you know, you go out there, there's the moon, there's something there at least. There's a physical thing there. You know, the sun, there's a physical thing there. Although, I don't know, maybe there isn't. Who the fuck knows? I've never been out there. You've never been out there. No one's been out there. You can sit there and say, well, NASA's been out there. Yeah, but NASA's full of shit, too, okay? Seriously, you're telling me, again, space race, they didn't lie? You're telling me, seriously, you're going to tell me with a straight face, a bunch of people who can't even get rockets off the fucking ground, that all of a sudden they just magically got to space within like 10 minutes? I mean, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but that bothers me. That does. It bothers me. It legitimately bothers me. Because, first off, it's not the first time our government, and yes, they're a government agency, have lied to us. Okay? Listen. We're living in a fucking world. Now hear the words. Hear the words. We're living in a world where governments have bombed islands. There's an actual island. I forgot the name of it. I think there was like 22 to 30 some odd sheep on this island. They bombarded it with like hundreds. Or talking, I think like 100. I want to say 196, 190 something. Fucking bombs with anthrax. They threw anthrax on a bunch of sheep on a fucking island. And contaminated the island like beyond recognition. Like don't go here because you'll get fucked. Okay, like if you go here and you take a breath, you're gonna die. They fucking nuked a bunch of sheep. We've taken thousands, hundreds of God knows how many fucking nuclear weapons and destroyed them into the outer atmosphere. Why? Why would we do this? Why would we do this? Why would we? Why? Why? And then you're going to sit there and tell me, oh yeah, we went to the moon and played golf. No. We nuked sheep with anthrax. We contaminated a fucking island. And it's not the first island. There's like whole fucking areas that are just completely nuked out to the point where you walk in there and your fucking skin just melts off your fucking dick. It's like you're nothing. Okay. We are a stupid fucking people. Now all of a sudden we've just magically want the space. No, I'm sorry. I have a hard time believing that. I really do. I'm not saying it's not true, but the amount of belief it takes for me to believe that NASA went to the moon in the 60s and then made it back safely. Apollo 13, my ass. We're talking square peg round hole here. And using basically the amount of memory. Do you realize that our toasters today have more memory than have more technology? Our toasters have more technology than the fucking space shuttle did back then. Do you understand that? Their computers were basically blinking lights, and they got to space. Are you kidding me with that shit? I mean, are you going to really tell me with that with a straight fucking face? Yeah, it's a romantic thing. It's this great romanticism, like, oh, we went to space and we're space race people, and we're full of shit too. We are full of shit. We are living in a world where people have willingly elected Donald fucking Trump as their president. You're telling me we went to space and played golf? We elect Donald Trump, we go to space. How do you go from like the greatest greatness to the worst fucking possible scenario ever? And you're telling me that there's a transition between that? You're telling me that that's actually a thing? Dude, we're people who elected Donald fucking Trump. You really, honestly, when you think about it, we went to space. We went to the moon. No, hear me. Hear me. Think about it logically. Think about, use your left brain for a change, okay? You really think that they're not lying to us, okay? No, hear me. You really think they're not lying to us. Now, again, I'm being sarcastic when I say that, but it just, I don't know, man. It's questionable. You have to admit it is questionable. The whole did we go to the moon thing, it is questionable. There are some legitimate concerns there. It's like 9/11. There are some legitimate concerns. Oh, you're a truther. No. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with tinfoil hats and bullshit. I'm sorry. Building 7 didn't fall out of sympathy, okay? I mean, seriously, think about it. The jet fuel got so hot that it burned down the steel beams in Building 7. No, hear me. Hear me. And our government's been run by the same assholes. Is there really a difference between Donald Trump other than the fact he can't shut his mouth? Now, again, if Donald Trump would just shut his mouth, he'd be doing a lot better off. Because people just see how stupid he is and how stupid his family is. Because they just keep saying stupid shit. Now, if they kept quiet, you basically would have Dick Cheney and George Bush and and hell, I even say Clinton, Bill, and all of them are full of shit. Okay, they're all just full of fucking shit. You know they're full of shit. I like this guy, I like that guy. They're all full of fucking shit. You know that as a fact. They're all full of shit. They are. They're all full of shit. All of them. All of them. Everything from Illuminati, George Washington, straight up to fucking Henry Taft, or whatever the fuck his name is. Okay, I'm sorry. They've all been bullshit. They've all been fucking puppets. That's all they are. They're fucking puppets. I mean, the idea that a 12-year-old fucking girl, or whatever age he was, can do a fucking thing for school and show that they're all fucking related to some fucking Guinea homo from the 16th century. Or 18th century, whatever the fuck it was. Are you kidding me? Some rich Guinea white homo from Europe. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I'm supposed to believe, oh, your vote counts. Yeah, my vote counts. Bullshit. Bullshit. First off, I live in New York. They're going to vote Democrat no matter what anyway. So even if I did want to vote for a Republican, which is like saying I want to take a staple gun to my testicles now, because, I'm sorry, I'm going to get off topic here, but what the fuck happened to that party? I used to be a Republican. I used to be a Fox News Republican. And then I started watching, guys like Sean Hannity just be a fucking tool bag. The guy's a fucking douche and a hammer. I can't deal with his ass. He's a fool. He's a fool. Like, oh, Donald Trump Jr. his meeting with the Russian whatever guy. What if it was some sort of how do you say it? Some sort of democratic setup. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, oh shit! Like Noah Trevor said, like, well, just, he's like, just no. You hold on to that information. You wait for that. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, gee, Hillary's down in the polls. No, you wait on that information. You hold that information. Wait until Donald Trump's elected. Are you fucking kidding me with that shit? I don't get it. And again, you want me to believe that Earth is round because they tell us it's round. I've not been out in space, son. I can't tell you. Dude, I believe in God, but I can't tell you God exists. Yeah, you can tell me Earth is round. Now, you've never seen Earth other than, looking down on the ground. Terra fuck firma, look down at your shoes. That's all you've seen of Earth. Okay. Well, I was in a plane once. Okay, fine. Maybe you were in a plane once. Okay, you weren't in a space shuttle. You weren't on the moon playing golf. You weren't. You weren't. Okay. It's a fact. You weren't. You have never been out of the atmosphere. Don't tell me you have. You haven't. You know you haven't. Deep down inside you haven't. So to sit there and say, oh, there's this because there's this and this and scientific laws of gravity and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Okay. Now, I'm going to say this sarcastically, but if Earth is round, like a sphere, how come you don't fall at the southern tip? How come you can't? Seriously, how come you can go to the South Pole and not fall off the fucking Earth? Well, it's gravity. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but especially if we're spinning like a motherfucker, dude. I mean, yeah, you can take a bucket, fill it with water, and put a string on it and fling it around, but that I don't know. That just seems like it creates more of a problem than, like, I don't see, like, if you put a bug in that bucket in the water, they're not just having a happy day in there, okay? They're being spun around like a motherfucker. The centrifugal force and the G-forces and shit, it's just, whatever. I don't want to get into that stuff. I don't care about this because, one side said, oh, and the other side said, oh, okay, fine, whatever. But it just seems like it's fucked up to me no matter how you want to slice that cake. Okay, that's a cake that's full of shit, and I just... Now, maybe my questions have answers, legitimate answers. Maybe they do. I don't know. Don't care right now. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to say, like I said, there's nothing out there. There is nothing out there. There is nothing. until we view it. And then it comes into fucking fruition. It becomes a thing. The deeper we go, the further out we go, the more we realize that it's literally being created as we... See, because that's the problem. If it's procedurally generated, then everything that is being generated by our consciousness, by us viewing it, it shoots off as a particle and it becomes a wave. It has the property of a wave, even though it didn't start off as a wave. So to sit there and say, well, there's evolution and evolution, the concept of that can very well easily be explained here. That our consciousness is actually manipulating, or at least, manipulating is really not the right word. Because anything that comes into fruition would happen instantly, as in it's there but it's not, and we have to view it to make it real. Our consciousness makes it real. We are co-creating the universe as we go, literally. Now, just because there's a planet a gazillion galactic light years out there, doesn't mean it's actually there. It's there, but it's not there. It's like if you close your eyes, does the universe still exist? I don't know. You know, it's like I cannot even with any degree of accuracy say that anybody other than myself exists. Okay, I can't say that you exist. I have no fucking clue. You could be a fucking AI robot piece of shit, okay? Hell, I could be an AI robot piece of shit saying this to manipulate you. So I have no ifs, ands, or buts about any of that shit, because you cannot, with any degree of accuracy, say, yeah, me, my family, my best friend, we're all real. I don't know if you're real. I could be literally the only human being on the planet right now. Or the only conscious motherfucker on the planet right now. And my conscience is creating everyone else. Now think about that. Now think about if my consciousness created my parents. You want to talk about like Back to the Future kind of a concept. Now think about that. Especially if you're going to talk evolution and shit. Imagine if my consciousness is the only consciousness that exists, or yours, or whatever, and I have created my parents, for good or for bad. I have created everything else around me. Now, what's interesting is when the particle becomes a wave, it has the property of the wave, because it has become the wave. So in other words, if I, through my consciousness, have created my parents, and my parents have a background, they have a history, they have, you know, things that were, they have a life. I created my parents in that sense, as far as my consciousness goes. Now, obviously, it's not how it works, but I'm using it as a potential example, if I can say it properly. So in other words, like for example, you want to look at a rock. Well, the rock is 100 billion gazillion years old, but is it really? Is it really? It may be, but is it really? Because we live in a universe where that is a fact. What I just said, is it or is it not? Does it really matter? Yeah, you can take a rock, you can carbon date it and all this bullshit. But does that mean it was ever actually really there? It's here, and it has a history, but was that history ever really part of the actual history? Or was it a made-up history of saying, okay, this is a rock, and these rocks are supposed to be, 100 million years old, or whatever. So, has it actually been there for 100 million years, or has it just been, oh, we discovered it in the dirt today? I mean, again, the universe is very strange when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because how does a wave become a particle just by us viewing it? How does spooky action work just by us, like I said, viewing it? So, again, if we didn't view it, it would still be a particle. Or, whatever. So, again, how does that fucking work? it becomes something that it wasn't originally. It really originally was not a wave, but just the very active consciousness, like almost like a filter, it shot the particle through our consciousness, and our consciousness said, fuck you, you're going to be a wave now. And it changed mid-flight. How is that possible? So again, when we look back and we say, oh, here's a broken tooth and a fucking piece of pottery, oh, here's prehistory. Here's prehistory. We're a gazillion years old and we came from chimps. Okay, you can't, no, I'm sorry. First off, that's bullshit. And it pisses me off because cell theory, all cells come from pre-existing cells, should be a fact of life, because it's true. They do. All cells come from pre-existing cells. Even cancer cells. Now, you think about that. Basically, you have good cells. They become tainted. They become cancerous. Well, then guess what? Doesn't mean it evolved. It just simply means that those cells went bad. It's like any other production line. Our DNA is like a blueprint. It's like any other production line. Yeah, sometimes you get a bad fucking model. You buy a video game. Sometimes the console's fucked up. You buy a bag of cookies. Sometimes by the time you get them, they're all crunched up. They're all fucked up. You know, sometimes you get the bad model. But for the most part, if it were left on its own, it's still going to continuously create the same fucking thing over and over and over again. Like, I'm sorry. I keep hearing evolutionists say, oh, 100 million years from now, we're going to lose our pinky toe. What the fuck is that? What the hell? That makes zero sense to me. Because our DNA says we have a pinky toe. Fuck you. Okay? You're not just going to magically lose it. Okay? The DNA is not going to change to the point where it's like, oh, I lost my pinky toe. I got 9 toes. 9-toed happy as limping his bitch in Harlem. Okay? It doesn't work that way. And anytime you see any type of variant of manipulation to the DNA structure, it's usually bad. Like, mutations are not good. Now, granted, we glorify it like mutants and X-Men and shit like that, but we have never seen... There has never been a documented case where a mutation has been a good thing. None. Zero. It's always been bad, and it usually ends in death. Okay? So to sit there and say, well, we evolved from this and evolved from that. I'm sorry, you can't persuade me otherwise. You can't. You can sit there and wish in one hand and crap in the other. But the simple fact is, the DNA is going to split from the RNA, and it's going to create more of the same thing. It will. It will create more of the same. It's not going to just be manipulated through other means. And if it does, for example, cancer, again, that usually equals a mutation that is bad. It causes death. You're going to die. It's like, again, it's like anything else. You can take what's there. All right, for example, if you look at our chromosomes, it does look like at least 2 of the chromosomes were fused together in a lab. It does look that way. Now, you can say it was God. It was some alien terraformer who came. Now, there's a few theories out there. And again, most of the stuff that I'm talking is just different people's theories and shit. I'm not necessarily saying I subscribe to every one of these, but it is what it is. There's the theory that we as human beings have gone in cycles. I think there was 6 different cycles where we've basically eradicated ourselves. Now, we could be about 6,000 years old. We could. But the universe is 100 million years old, and human beings were found 300 billion years ago, and 7 billion years, and 6.5436 billion, and then 43 billion, and the Earth spun around the moon of 52,000 times. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You can have a 6,000-year-old concept if, and it's not that far-fetched, there is a terraformer. We'll call him God, because he technically would be our God either way. Now, whether he's a spirit or he's all this other bullshit, Okay, let's just say he's just a dude. Let's just say he's a dude on a spaceship. A little alien fag fucker on a spaceship. Spacey sprockets flying over fucking head. Okay, let's just say that's what he is. You know, something that the atheists can get on board with. Let's just say. Now, we do know that under certain circumstances, that human DNA can go into the soil, and if under the right circumstances, you can actually get human DNA from soil samples. Now, what does the Bible say? Adam was created from the dust. He's created from the dirt. So God, spacely sprockets, came flying overhead, hovered over the waters, terraformed the planet, and then took DNA that was in the soil from a dead race, humanoid race, and created Adam and Eve. Which is interesting about Eve, because she's technically a clone. Which is also another interesting fact, is that when you're doing cloning, it's easier to clone a female than it is a male. So when he took Adam's rib, he created female, which is easier to do than creating male. So he created the male in a certain way from the dust, but then took the DNA of Adam and created Eve. Which is kind of cool when you think about that. But we could be 6,000 years old, give or take. This cycle could be 6,000 years old. Doesn't mean the Earth hasn't been around for a galactic bazillion years. Okay, whatever. Okay, 6.643 billion, whatever. Fuck, who gives a shit? But this cycle could be, and yes, this cycle could have lasted 6 days. I mean, seriously, you're telling me that with our current technology, you could not have a 3D printer that works organically, that you could take DNA sequence, put it into a computer, have it mimic that, let's say with stem cells, which are basically just blank slates, engage the RNA, DNA bullshit, have it work and actually turn into, because all you have to do is basically jumpstart that shit. If you could get the DNA into the stem cell, and then jumpstart the process of getting it to, create, to, basically it's almost like a video, it's like a package, like in your computer, where it just kind of unfolds, and it's like when you update shit, it's similar to that. If you can engage that shit, then the stem cells would basically, in this, now you need a little bit more than that, obviously, like, if you're going to create a child or something, then, you'd have to have it like in a womb, but whatever. You can create something like that. You could artificially create that. In fact, we're doing it right now. So, yeah, obviously we could do that. So to sit there and say that, no. This cycle could have been 6 days long. It could have been. We could have bombed ourselves, nuked ourselves into shit and bullshit. And then spacey sprocket flew overhead, and then like, fine, fuck it. Like, how many millennia fucking would it take if, let's say there was this huge nuclear war in the last generation? You would have to wait for all that shit to subside, because the Earth would eventually, filter that shit out, and it would become a livable area again, a livable planet again. And that's not a far-fetched concept. It really is not. It's not. But again, the problem with evolutionary people is that it relies on something else, another person, another being, a god. It relies on a god. Now, whatever that god is, that's a different story. And I'm not even saying God is spirit and God is all this other stuff that we see in the Bible. I'm saying God, what if God is just a simple, just a random dude, And the thing that pisses me off about atheists specifically is they want to talk about, well, I don't believe in God, but I believe in space aliens. Well, what if God's a space alien? What if he is? Now, the only problem with that thought is you're talking like Antichrist, Apollo, and Abaddon, and all that bullshit. Then you get into, well, what if he is a space alien, and then we get visited by a space alien, and we're like, oh, he's God. Okay, that's a different story for a different time. I don't want to get into that. But it does kind of lead into that. But I'm just going to take it from an atheist point of view of just try to simplify it as best as you can. Instead of sitting there, oh, God is love, and God is light, and God is energy, and God is this and that, and he's a spirit, and blah, 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 blah. People can't understand that. But they can't understand a dude in a spaceship. So let's just keep it as simple as possible. Let's because, my point for this discussion is not to, convert atheists to Christianity. Okay, that's not the point. Let's just say, again, God, whatever that be, is just a random little dude farting around in a spaceship somewhere, terraforming the universe. Okay, let's just say that's what he is. In the simplest term possible. Because that's what he did. That's what God did. He came and terraformed this planet. He terraformed what was here. He said, let there be light, and there was light. Okay, he terraformed the universe. Now, let's be honest, God could also be some little fucking pimple-faced faggot in some other alternate dimension who created a AI working program, holographic universe, too. So, think about that. Our God could be the equivalent of a pimply teenage little fuck-ass. Now, think about that. Think about that. Because, well, it'd probably explain a lot of this shit. I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff that God does is just dumb as fuck. I'm not going to lie. It is. It's dumb as fuck. It would explain, let's be honest, some of the stuff was kind of amateur hour. Like, even God came out and said, gee, I regret creating them, the human beings. I regret creating them. Wished I hadn't. So even God kind of lamented over the fact that he kind of fucked up. So, what if it's just some fucking nerd and some fucking nerd named Poindexter in an alternate universe, or an alternate dimension, with a pocket protector, and, his glasses are broken in the middle, he's got a little piece of tape holding them together, he's got slick back hair, he looks like Lewis from Revenge of the Nerds. What if that's our fucking God? What if that is what God looks like? He looks like Lewis from Revenge of the Nerds. Think about that. That could be what our God looks like. Now, I got a bad feeling that Jesus is not going to be like the campy, cutesy, little handsome version where he's just sitting there with a little smile and got the little long hair and he's like, hey. I think Jesus is going to look like a fucking jackass. I just do. I have a bad... Because, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I can get behind the fact... I don't know if I can get behind the idea that my Savior looks like a fucking tool. And I hate to say that. I know it's not what it's supposed to be about. But it's like, you kind of have this glorified, romantic vision of Jesus that you see in all the artwork and stuff. And he's gaunt and shit. And he's got this little, making these little finger gestures. And he's like, hey. Okay, I got a bad feeling he's going to be an ugly fucking, not really ugly, but more... just plain as fuck, because the Bible does say he's gonna be plain as fuck, but I don't know if I could deal with God looking like Marky. I don't know if I could deal with that, But anyway, that's my own personal thing I gotta work through. But whatever. Anyways. Like I said, I don't know what to make of any of this, because, like I said, the further you go back... See, it's like history. The further you go back... Like, I am a firm believer and the Bible does even suggest this, I believe you will find whatever you're looking for. If you're an atheist, you're going to find there is no God. If you're a Christian, you're going to find proof that there's God, or at least proof for you that there's God. If you're trying to look at prehistory from a flood point of view, you're going to find it. If you're looking at it from a I don't believe in the Bible, fuck that, you're going to find what you're looking for. Literally, like the Bible says, whatever. Anyways, because think about it. The universe is both wave and particle. It's particle, we view it, it turns to wave. But it was still a particle. Because my personal belief is that what if waves and particles coexist equally, just on the same plane of existence? It's like Jesus, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. It's God coexisting with himself on multiple planes of existence at the same time. Because how can you have Jesus in a physical form and then sit there and say, well, God's on the throne and everything's great and hunky-dory? Well, God can't be on the throne if he's in a physical form. If he's omnipresent and he's in a human form, then he's not omnipresent. So God has to coexist with himself on multiple planes of existence at multiple times in the universe. So when you look at it that way, and it does make sense that way, then the universe could very well be, because, well, if there are alternate dimensions, those dimensions cooperate and coexist equally with the one that we're in right now. And potentially they're like layers, and if you remove one, then the whole thing just collapses. So if God, Spirit, is on a different plane of existence, then we're talking about something that's very deep and very questionable for those who don't want to acknowledge that. Because to say that you don't believe in God, and what pisses me off though, especially about atheists, and people want to talk about the multiverse. No, basically what the multiverse is that every single possibility of every single solitary thing of every single solitary second of every single solitary day can and does and will play out. But yet there's no God. Okay, well, if everything that could possibly happen happens, then there should be an alternate universe where God does exist, because there's an alternate universe where God created the universe. There has to be. If every scenario is possible, then there has to be some variant where God or a being or a person or something can, in and of himself, create out of nothing. It has to be. There simply has to be. So to sit there and say, oh, I don't believe in God. Well, first off, that's ignorant, because you've been alive, what, how many years? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? If you're lucky, 70? Out of 70 years, oh, I don't see God, so he must not exist. I'm 40 years old. I've never been to Bahamas, but I believe they exist. Okay. Because the interesting thing is, if God is what the Bible says, he is love, he is light, he is basically energy. He is an energy being. Now think about it. Everything that makes up what we are is based on energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. If particles are made up of little bundles of energy, then that means God, being energy, emotion. So the emotion is energy, in a way. Well, in a way it is. So if God is, let's say he is energy as we know it, or at least part energy, then he does co-mingle with the entire existence that we have. If you took God out of the situation, if you took energy out of the situation, we don't exist. Think about that. We do not exist. It all falls flat. There has to be something that keeps our cells together. Something that keeps our very being together. Something that keeps the physical, tangible universe in check. There is some force out there, out in the ether, somewhere, that does keep that shit in check. You take that out, it's like, it's like anything else. It's like that's what's that stupid Jenga game or whatever the fuck it is. If you take the little pieces out and you take out just the wrong one, and the whole thing collapses. It's a similar idea. It's like if you're making a video game and you code something wrong, it fucks up the whole game. So if you were to code out God of the scenario here in this holographic universe, then guess what? It all goes to shit. It does. It has to, because the one key thread that binds everything together has been removed. Well, it just kind of fizzles out. It's nothing. And people need to get that. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, there's a God. I believe there's God. I do. I have to. Christian, you got to kind of believe that. It's kind of par for the course, But again, even if we're talking just multiverse here, there has to be a universe where there is something or someone or whatever that did create the universe. There has to be. Because if every single solitary scenario could be played out in some form or another, then it is what it is. Now, what's cool about the multiverse idea, and I like to think of it as like a layer. Now, you could technically have 6 major layers. 6 days of creation, basically. Because at one point, whether it's time, chronological order, layer, whatever you want, however you want to define it for yourself, there was a point when it was all dark. There is an alternate universe where there's nothing but darkness. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. Which means the suns and the moons and the stars and all that shit came into fruition. Or at least on some level. Which a lot of people say, well, that could also be your Big Bang too. That could also be... Now, the Big Bang is interesting because some people want to suggest there are black holes and then there are white holes, and there might be a white hole at the end of the black hole. Now, what's interesting is if the black hole sucks in all the shit, where does that energy go? If it sucks in light and it sucks in, matter and everything else around it, where does that shit go? Because energy is not created nor destroyed. So where does that shit go? It either dissipates, which is kind of depressing, or it shats out the back end in a white hole. Now think about that. Because the Big Bang can be one of two things. It's either the ass end of a black hole that sucked in all this matter and it shat out, so you have this literal shatting, this sharding shit of just spewing matter into our existence, or there's a multiverse and the two membranes of the multiverse rub together and matter from that universe shat into ours. Either way, you're still talking about creating something from nothing. Even Big Bang creates something from nothing. There was nothing, then boom, there was something. Okay, even the Big Bang creates something out of nothing. So whether it was Big Bang, whether it was God, whether God created a Big Bang, God, whatever. There's still a moment where there was nothing, and then there's a moment where there is something. There was darkness, now there's light. Now what created the light? We say it's God, okay. What if it's the Big Bang? What if it was God saying, let there be light, bang, and there's a Big Bang? Okay, obviously it seemed like there would be a pretty fucking Big Bang if all of a sudden just things just boop, popped into existence. You know? For example, it was all particles. God acknowledged it and said, let there be light. Boop. It turned into a wave. There's light. What is light? A wave. I mean, I don't know. I'm being a little sarcastic with that, but, you know, it is what it is. What if this shit was always there? What if the wave is always there? Whether we view it or not, the wave is there with the particle. What if the particle and the wave coexist simultaneously? What if they're one and the same, but they're on different planes of, I don't want to necessarily say existence, but different planes of coherence, I guess you could say. They're one. The wave and the particle are the exact same until it's viewed, and then it becomes tangible. In other words, if there's nobody there to view it, you don't need it. So if there's nobody there to view the light, you've got just the darkness. The minute someone's there to view it, the light happens. The lights turn on, literally. It's almost like a pop-in a video game. In the draw distance, where like you're moving along, all of a sudden the building bloop, just pops in there from way out in the distance. It's a similar idea, which then means that every single solitary thing that's ever technically been created is here. It is here. It exists. We just have to live to the potential of it. So there's a multiverse where there's nothing but darkness. Another variant, almost like a cell splitting, like RNA, DNA almost, where it splits, but it's different. Now there's one with light. So now you essentially got, two of your bubbles right there, two of your days in your 6 days of creation. The next bubble, you got, whatever. You got fish of the sea and birds of the air and shit in your pants. You got it all. I mean, you could have 6 days of creation very easily. A lot of people took billions of years. You know what also took 1 billion years? Me trying to pass a fucking football out my asshole when I was dehydrated. Okay, that's a story for another day. That's completely another story for another fucking day. I mean, I was like Lucy and Charlie fucking Brown with this football up my ass. I mean, don't even get me started. That was horrible. That was horrible, because it was like prairie dogging, and it wasn't coming out, and it was like, just, like, people talk about, I'm getting way off topic here, but people, women want to talk about, giving birth, there's nothing more painful. Yeah, but you know what? My asshole don't dilate, bitch. Okay, you try passing a football. I mean, seriously, you try passing a football out your rectum. That don't dilate, and you tell me what pain is like. Fuck you. That's neither here nor there. That's a whole other story. But well, I mean, what if every single solitary thing that exists, ever existed and ever will exist, does technically exist? It's here. It's just we have to view it to create it. Now, we can't just, I can't just wish for the next Nintendo system and, here it is. The Switch 2, okay. No. But, I don't know. Because essentially what you're saying, the idea of spooky action is to suggest that there's something there that is only coming into fruition because we viewed it. And that is just creepy as shit to me. That just throws me down a flight of fucking stairs like nobody's business. It is spooky action. It's spooky as fuck is what that is. Because what's real? Are we particles? Are we waves? Well, to enjoy this universe, we have to have, tangibility. So, the things that are there have to coincide and adapt to what we can acknowledge. Which is interesting when you think about that. Because that's essentially what they're doing. They're adapting. Again, you shoot out a particle, we view it, it turns into a wave. It's similar to that. The particle don't mean shit to us. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. We're more interested in, you know, because of the consciousness. Now, is it creating or manipulating? Because, again, if you shoot it off, it's one thing, and then when it reaches its goal, where we view it, it turns into basically something else. And if that's the case, how fucking deep does that rabbit fuck hole go? I mean, what if atheists are creating prehistory? What if that shit is literally being created or manipulated, if you will? Because again, you can prove there's no God, you can prove there is a God. Well, actually, that's not true. You can't prove one way or the other that there's a God. You can say, well, the scientific evidence says this. Yeah, but you can also say scientific evidence also... You can show scientific evidence to show whatever the fuck you want. It's like the Bible. You can pick and choose verses, which you're not supposed to, but you can, to say whatever the hell you want to say. I mean, we know Christians who say Donald Trump is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that God sent him to us to save us. And, you got people like the guy's a complete Neanderthal. He's a fool. He's not saved. He didn't confess with his mouth that Jesus is Lord and that he needs salvation through grace. He never confessed those words. Oh, he has prayer meetings. So what? So who gives a shit? You can stand there and bow your little fucking head like anybody else. I remember many a time going to church, bowing my fucking head, not even really giving a damn that I was there. Just wait until it was over so I can go home. I remember many a time doing that when I was a kid. It's for show. That's all it is. It's a show. No. I wish him well. I hope he does get saved. I hope he gets saved and gets right with Jesus and stop being a fucking asshole. Start worrying about other people instead of worrying about stupid shit. But hey, whatever. That's a whole other story in and of itself. Whatever. But like I said, it's like anything else. What do you do with the information that you're given? Now, you got things like quantum mechanics and shit. Now, one thing that was pissing me off as I was watching this video, and they're like, oh, they basically did teleportation. I'm sorry, quantum physics is not teleportation. It's not. They basically took a particle, wherever the hell they were, and apparently there's a quantum entangled other particle that was up on a space satellite or some shit. I don't know why the particle would be up there, but whatever. And you're like, oh, we teleported it. That's not teleportation. Because what it is when you're quantum entangled, what happens to one affects the other similar. Or not similar, they're exactly the same. So in other words, it's like, yeah, you could send a message to and fro, but you didn't teleport it physically from where it is to where, or from where it was to where it is, or vice versa. You basically mimicked what was there and had the other one, mimic. Yeah, so I didn't really like the idea that they were using the term teleportation. This obviously wasn't like beam me up, motherfucker, Scotty, asshole, son of a bitch. Okay, this wasn't Star Trek. So to sit there and say that now these fucking quantum entangled computers that supposedly get information from alternate universes, the fuck is with that shit? Now here's an interesting fact. If that's the case, we could potentially be able to tell the future, or possible futures, by doing something like that, assuming these alternate dimensions exist and we're actually getting information from them and not just, stupid random generated bullshit. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to wonder especially with some of the Mandela effect things. Now, some of them are legit. I'm not gonna lie. There are some that, like the Star Wars one, you know, Luke, I am your father. The problem with that is if I came up to you and said the actual line of, no, I am your father, you're going to punch me in the face for being a jerk. Now, if I say Luke, and I remember there was a comedian, I can't remember who, but this was years ago, probably in the 90s, and they made reference to that in their material. Now, what happens is you have to preface it so that people get it. So you say, Luke, I am your father. You could explain that. But there's two specific ones. Now, the Bernstein, that one's kind of weird to me. And there's actual evidence where there was both. There was actually Bernstein and Bernstein, whatever. But the two that piss me off, because I know for a fact, I know beyond a shadow of a fact, I know for a fact that this isn't just bad memory bullshit, okay? I know that the logo, the Kit Kat logo, the candy bar, had a fucking hyphen, a little dash in the middle of it. It was Kit-Kat. I know for a fucking fact, because I used to buy these fuckers by the cases, and I would bite in and it would get right to the little dash. No, and I know the fucking logo. I bought these things. No, there was a fucking dash in that son of a bitch. You cannot tell me that. And it wasn't just marketing and you know, they decided to change the logo. No, it was none of that shit. There was a fucking dash in that son of a bitch. And now there's not. As in, there never was. Fuck all that shit. Fuck Mandela. Fuck all that other stuff. And the other one is, I'm telling you right now, Curious fucking George had a goddamn tail, because I remember the little faggot hanging from it. He had the hat. I remember him, he was hanging, he had the little fucking yellow hat on his head, and he's hanging from his freaking tail. Now, monkeys like that have tails. You look at Diddy Kong, you look at some of the other ones, they have fucking tails. And I know this motherfucker had a tail because I remember images of him hanging from the fucking thing. He's looking at the man with the yellow hat. He's looking at the motherfucker. He's got the thing, and he's smiling, and I remember the fucking image. I've seen the fucking image. The cocksucker had a tail. You can't tell me he didn't have a fucking tail. And if you look at the freaking artwork, it looks fucked up because there's like this, and there's no tail. It looks weird. It does. It looks weird. Those two specifically give me the shits. Those two, I'm telling you right now, those two. Now, again, some of them, yes, I do think some of them are bad, just bad memory. Now, the freaking Forrest Gump one is interesting because there is actual footage of him saying life is like a box of chocolates. I think it may have been like an outtake or something, instead of life was like a box of chocolates. So that one's kind of weird too, but I'm not going to get into that one. But I will tell you one thing though, some of the shit the motherfuckers doing at CERN, first off, the logo is 666, fuck you with that. And some of the shit that they did, they're doing some weird, wacky fucking shit. They had this ceremony. It's on YouTube, you can look at it. The thing is fucking demonic and shit. They were doing this demonic dancing and shit. And they had these costumes and stuff, and these weird, they look like bush people. They look like tumbleweeds, but they're like people, and they're dancing, and there's this goat thing, this goat-headed monster thing coming out, and there's this weird, like, vortex thing that opens up, and it was just this strange fucking thing. And you got these, I don't know, these dignitaries or whoever the fuck they were, sitting in the audience, and people looking around saying, what the fuck is this shit? It was occultic, fucking evil, wicked bullshit. It was insane. The fact that they did that as an opening ceremony and shit. Dude, they're doing some weird fucking shit there. Now, everybody and their mother on YouTube wants to say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, blah, 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 blah. Now, one of the newest how do you do's that they're supposedly doing is time travel. Now, whether it's like actually physically sending somebody in the past, or they're changing history somehow, and they want to say, well, the Mandela effect is part of that. And not all Mandela effects are created equal. I'm just going to say that. But the Kit Kat one and the Curious George one give me the shits. I'm done. And I know for a fact that Kit Kat logo had a freaking dash. I know for a fact. I know beyond a shadow of a fucking doubt that it did. Because like I said, I used to buy them from the case, like 20 or 30 of them at a time from Amazon, and I'd put them in the refrigerator. And no, there was a dash. There was a dash between Kit and Kat. Don't fuck with me with that. Again, this isn't bad memory. This is just simple fucking fact. No. Absolutely bullshit. But like I said, one of the newest things that they're saying is, oh, it's some sort of time travel. Now I think time travel is possible as far as like sending data or information back. I think you could theoretically do that. Now, I'm wondering if quantum entanglement, you couldn't do a time travel with that. Like if you had, basically, actually, I wonder if you couldn't, I wonder if that's possible. To quantum entangle something with itself from the past. Now think about that. You fuck with something in the future, let's say a particle, you manipulate it, however they do it, and then it changes itself in the past. Now think about that for a minute. Especially if you could do that kind of thing. Now, the problem is to travel back in time, you'd have, essentially, you'd have to open up some sort of portal, some sort of wormhole or something. Essentially. Which means you'd have to have a shitload of freaking energy. Now I'm wondering if you couldn't manipulate like a black hole to create that kind of energy. Because you probably need like a sun. You know, some sort of... It would take a lot of energy to create a decent wormhole. And I'm wondering if you couldn't do it with, like I said, like a black hole. Now you got CERN who potentially could create black holes. I wonder if they didn't do that and send something back in time. Or if you could do that. I mean, forget whether they did or not, you know. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they did that and created the Mandela effect and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that, but I wonder if you couldn't do that. Because, like I said, it takes a shitload of energy. Like when I play the game Destiny, they have these stargates that open up, and you have to shoot you have to shoot at them, and the more you shoot at them, eventually the gates will close. I mean, do you understand how stupid that is? It's going to take more than a couple, gunshots to close a fucking wormhole. I mean, you basically need a thermal nuke, basically. I mean, you need some serious power, and that's even potentially not even to close the damn thing, but maybe make it jump from like one gate to another. You're not even talking closing the damn thing. So, I mean, you'd have to have some serious firepower to close the damn thing. So, whatever. Because, now imagine if they could go back in time. Well, maybe they could bring something from the past to the future. Because, like, a lot of people want to say, well, Apollo is going to come back. He's going to be the space alien that, Anonymous and all these other fuckers want to say that NASA knows about, and they know that the aliens are here and blah blah blah, and Apollo's going to come back and he's going to be the Antichrist and blah blah blah. Well, what if he never actually comes back? What if he actually was transported from the past into the future, assuming he was an actual real dude? Now think about that. That's kind of creepy in and of itself. You're bringing in these fucking demonic entities from the past. Because that would be kind of fucked up when you think about it. Which means they're because biblically, those a lot of those fuckers were like chained and bound and shit. Like there's some in the Euphrates River or something like that. Well, I don't know, but supposedly God bound a few of them. Well, if they're currently bound, which means they can't be unbound, the only way to unbind them is to go back in time and snatch them from history and bring them forward. So you'll have the same dude bound, but he's still here because, dude, that'd be kind of cool actually when you think about it. It'd be like a cool sci-fi show. Now think about that. You got these demonic fuckers and shit. That would actually be really cool. I wonder if that would... Because the Bible talks about there's going to be like the 1,000-year reign. Satan is going to be basically bound for 1,000 years. And then he's going to be let loose. Well, I've always wondered, why the hell would God let loose Satan? What if he doesn't? What if we travel back in time and snatch him from history and bring him back to the present? Think about that. That was kind of fucked up. That's actually cool. That's a cool concept. I want to ponder that a little bit. Because that's kind of cool. I mean, you'd essentially have to send him back. I don't know. Maybe that's what being cast into hell is really what it's about. He's being sent back. I don't know. That'd be kind of fucked up. That'd be kind of fucked up though, but because if he's bound for 1,000 years and he's let loose again, why would God let loose Satan? Although I have to consider my servant Job today, so yeah, I don't know, but that would be cool, man. I mean, imagine that you go back in time and actually get like a spiritual entity. Because that's the thing, if you create a doorway like to the past, who the fuck knows what actually comes through it? Now, I've talked about this before, but if demons and angels and shit like that do exist, scientifically, if their waves are 180 degrees out of the norm of ours, they could totally exist. They would be, like they could be in front of us right now, we don't see them. And they could actually theoretically manipulate the universe around us. Like they could pick up stuff and throw it, and you know, these weird like ghost stories and shit. There's scientific proof and scientific law that says yes, that could exist. Theoretically, that does potentially exist. So angels and demons and Nephilim and blah 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 blah, and the whole fucking lot of them all. And I don't know, I gotta be honest with you, that really pisses me off. I don't like the idea of these intangible fuckers running around acting like they know what the fuck's going on. And I'm saying that from God all the way straight down to everybody. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of God manipulating me. I mean, the Bible says that God hardened Saul's heart. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about that. My heart's hard enough as it is. I ain't got time. I mean, I'm not even talking like just spiritual hard. I'm talking just hardened, artery hardened. Okay, I ain't got time for that kind of shit. You know? It's just... whatever. But... anyways, whatever. But, I mean, can you imagine, though, if CERN actually did do that? They started creating these little mini black holes. The only problem with the black hole is you'd have to be able to contain that fucker, though. You basically would have to contain it. Because, you know... although there would be one way to... well, you could almost prove whether they did or not. Especially if they had, like, an open wormhole, like, to the past. And there were like black holes being used, then it would be some sort of time dilation, some sort of time disturbance around that area where time would move slower because you're basically, you know, you're dealing with black holes. Now, granted, it might not be significant, but I think you could realistically be able to determine whether they actually did create a black hole or did have some sort of, you know, something. Because again, you need something with some serious fucking power. And because especially if they're fucking around with like time travel and shit. Now granted, I don't know how stable the wormhole would be. I say wormhole, but however you want to define it. I don't know. I don't think you could send. I don't know if it's possible to send like people back, like ever, but maybe sort of. But I do think you could send information. I do believe that. I do believe you can send information back and forth, you know, into the past, into the future, so on and so forth. If time travel is possible, which it is, it's theoretically possible. It's within the laws of, you know, Einstein's ideas. It could be a thing. In other words, there's nothing that says it can't happen. But if it does, it's going to be information, particle, so on and so forth. But again, I'm curious about the whole quantum entangling a particle with itself in the past or future. That would be kind of weird, because you'd basically be getting messages and shit. That's like the one dude who wanted to create like a time machine. He turned it on and is like hoping that there would be a message. Apparently there hasn't been. Or at least it hasn't been in the sense that he's telling everybody. So, I don't know. But it makes me wonder if the fucking Google AI isn't doing something too, because I think there's fucking AI doing shit. Now imagine if you could transport, you know, digitally. I think you can send digital information back and forth. Now imagine a fucking AI that could travel back in time and manipulate shit. I mean, can you imagine that? Because, no, I'm being sarcastic when I say this, but what if it's like the Langoliers? It's like the people have kind of moved on. Like we're just, because actually that could work. The Langoliers isn't that far-fetched. Because again, like I said earlier, the more microscopic we go, we realize there's nothing, and there does come a point where it's like, okay, that's the bottom of the barrel. And the further out in space you go, because again, if space is expanding, what's it expanding into? You eventually get to a point where there's nothing there, but the more you acknowledge, the more you see, the spooky action takes place and more is being created further and further out. So when you put that in perspective, I don't know, it's just but I mean, can you imagine if the AI was able to go back in time? Because our consciousness wouldn't be, like if you look at Langoliers, our consciousness wouldn't be, now these individuals happen to be there at the time, although their consciousness would be there, but you know, that might be a little bit of a problem. But like they're standing in the terminal and there's nobody there. I mean, that's kind of fucked up when you think about it. It's because our consciousness isn't in that moment. Our consciousness has moved beyond that. So the bubble that we're in, again, when you go down microscopic or you go out in space, that bubble, that conscious bubble, we kind of separated ourselves from that. So, I mean, although technically, if that's the case, then why didn't... Again, I'm discussing Langoliers, what the fuck. I'm not saying that, you know... But why didn't their consciousness then create the world around them to be what it is? I don't know. Whatever. But obviously, I'm debating a movie that, you know, is just, you know... It's kind of stupid, but kind of awesome at the same time. I love Langoliers, but it's obviously not really the most scientific movie in the world. But it would be similar to that. Like, you have this AI that's in the past. What if it is just empty? Just the physical matter is there, but the human beings, the bubble that our consciousness is creating, is kind of moved. It's almost like when you see those animations of like the blood, and you see like the little cell and it kind of goes through the pipeline. It's kind of like that. Well, imagine if something broke off and went back the way it came. Everything that was there would be gone because it moved forward, but yet there's still something back. You know, I don't know. It's kind of creepy when you think about it. But yeah, you put an AI back there because we have this idea that, like, oh, I can go back and I can talk to myself. What if that's not the case? What if it is like the Langoliers? Like, we are here now at this moment. I can't go back 2 minutes ago and talk to myself while I was doing this clip. But what I can do is go back, you know, and grab, let's say, a physical item, my Switch or whatever, and then teleport back into the present. Now I got two Switches. It's one from the past, one. Now imagine that with, let's say, Apollo or Abandon or some of these other demonic fucking forces. You go back and grab one of them motherfuckers, you know, before God bound them. So they're bound, but they're also doing bad stuff. That's kind of cool when you think about it. That's fucked up. That's a little bit fucked up. Because like I said, they could exist if their waves are 180 degrees outside of ours, you know, what we acknowledge. Demons could exist. They could. The devil could exist. Angels could exist. Scientifically, they could very well exist. And if they do, because let's be honest, if God bound someone, they're bound for eternity. They're not going to be unbound, but yet God does unbind Satan, or at least allows it to happen, or at least acknowledges the fact that it happened. But again, why would he do that? But what if it was us who did that? What if we traveled back and got Satan and brought him to the future? And what if part of going through hell is literally being cast into the lake of fire, which would be, you know, whatever energy source it was to keep that wormhole open? I mean, think about that. That's some fucked up shit. I mean, it's slightly far-fetched, but not entirely. That's what's creepy about it. It's not entirely far-fetched. It's a little silly, maybe, but I don't know. That's some crazy shit, though, when you think about it. Wow. Time travel to get demons. I mean, think about it. Or time travel to get Satan. Think about that. I mean, what if that's what CERN is trying to do? They're trying to time travel to get Satan, essentially, as the Antichrist. I don't know. Although technically Satan right now isn't being bound, but I wasn't confusing, but I wasn't being clear. Like right now he's currently not bound, but during the 1,000-year reign he'll be bound. So I'm saying at the end of the 1,000-year reign, we, the people then, will go back in time before he was bound and bring him into the future then. That's what I was referring to. Like, we don't need to go back into the past to get Satan. He's already here. You know, or at least within reason. So I just want to clarify that. That's what I meant by that. Man, my throat's all fucked up. Anyways. So you know what? Fuck you. I think that's going to be the end of the clip today. It's definitely an interesting clip. I've been wanting to make a clip like this for a while, but you know what? Fuck it. I did today. So there you go.